Across cultures and generations, a universal aspiration binds us. We chase a powerful dream. It's a dream woven into the fabric of our societies, a narrative constantly reinforced by the stories we tell ourselves and the images we consume. This dream whispers promises of fulfillment, suggesting that true happiness lies just beyond the horizon, attainable if only we strive hard enough. It's the dream of finding the perfect partner. We imagine someone who fits every desire, a soulmate who anticipates our needs, shares our passions, and complements our flaws. We envision a flawless companion, meticulously crafted just for us, a partner who embodies all the qualities we deem essential for a lifetime of bliss. Stories, films, and social media relentlessly feed this vision, constantly urging us never to settle for anything less than absolute perfection. The algorithms curate idealized versions of relationships, showcasing seemingly effortless connections and picture-perfect moments. We build mental checklists, meticulously outlining the traits and characteristics we seek in a partner. We become convinced that only achieving this elusive perfection will unlock the door to lasting happiness and fulfillment. Yet nature, in its boundless wisdom, teaches us that perfection is an illusion, a mirage that shimmers in the distance but vanishes upon closer inspection. No two sunsets are the same, each painted with unique hues and fleeting moments of beauty. And life, in all its messy and unpredictable glory, thrives in beautiful imperfection. The relentless pursuit of a flawless mate, this quest for an unattainable ideal, can inadvertently blind us to the genuine, imperfect, and potentially transformative connections that are right in front of us, waiting to be discovered. Are we truly searching for love, for a deep and meaningful connection with another human being? Or are we, perhaps unconsciously, seeking a guarantee against life's inherent uncertainties and hardships, a shield against vulnerability? The story of Ruth, a timeless narrative of love, loss, and redemption, a young woman who in some ways waited for perfection, or at least for a life that aligned with her expectations, offers a gentle and insightful exploration of this enduring dilemma. Her journey reveals the delicate and often precarious balance between holding on to our standards and values and clinging to a dream, a vision of perfection that may ultimately prove to be unattainable, a mirage that leads us astray. Through Ruth's experiences, we gain a deeper understanding of the subtle dangers, the hidden pitfalls, of endlessly waiting for a perfection that in reality may never arrive, leaving us stranded in a state of perpetual anticipation. Sometimes the very dream of perfection, the idealized vision we hold so dear, can inadvertently keep us from recognizing and embracing the real, imperfect, and ultimately more fulfilling love that we truly need and deserve. In her youth, Ruth was radiant, a beacon of light and optimism. She was admired far and wide for her inherent kindness and captivating charm, a true embodiment of grace. Her laughter was infectious, her spirit uplifting, suitors lined up, each hoping to win her heart. There was a gentle farmer with soil-stained hands and a heart of gold, a witty teacher whose words danced with intelligence and humor, and a wealthy businessman promising a life of comfort and security. Each offered something real, a piece of themselves, hoping it would be enough. They offered stability, laughter that echoed through the halls, and the promise of unwavering security. But none, despite their admirable qualities, quite matched the perfect image Ruth held so firmly in her mind. The farmer was undeniably kind, but perhaps lacked the grand romantic gestures she dreamed of. The teacher was certainly clever, his mind a treasure trove of knowledge, but he wasn't particularly handsome or exceptionally rich. The businessman offered a life of comfort, a haven from worry, but there was a distinct lack of spark, a certain dullness that she couldn't ignore. Ruth firmly believed that someone, somewhere, would eventually come along who possessed it all. She envisioned a man with unwavering kindness, a sharp and engaging wit, considerable wealth, and breathtaking looks that would steal her heart away. Her friends, ever supportive and encouraging, cheered her on relentlessly. "You deserve nothing less than the absolute best," they'd say, reinforcing her unwavering belief. Each polite but firm refusal felt like a powerful affirmation of her inherent worth and unwavering standards. Ruth wasn't simply passively waiting for love to find her. Instead, she was actively curating her destiny, carefully crafting the life she envisioned for herself. She remained confident that her patience, her unwavering faith in the universe, would ultimately be rewarded in the most spectacular way. And so she gracefully turned away from promising men, each with their own unique set of admirable qualities. She remained certain that her perfect match, the one who ticked all the boxes, was waiting just around the corner, ready to sweep her off her feet. The world, in her youthful eyes, seemed to be brimming with endless possibilities, a vast ocean of potential waiting to be explored, and Ruth, in that moment, felt incredibly powerful, empowered by the freedom to make her own choices and shape her own future. She wholeheartedly believed that her time would inevitably come, that her dreams would eventually materialize into a tangible reality. And when it did, she was absolutely certain that it would be nothing short of magnificent, a fairy tale come to life. But perfection, as she would inevitably learn through the winding paths of life, is often a moving target, an elusive ideal that constantly shifts and changes. Sometimes the most beautiful and fulfilling moments are the very ones we almost carelessly overlook, the quiet joys that often hide in plain sight. Time moved on, indifferent to Ruth's hopes. Her friends married men who weren't perfect, but perfect for them. Ruth attended their weddings, smiling but feeling a quiet unease. The pool of eligible men shrank. Invitations and calls grew fewer. The season of plenty faded into solitude. Proposals stopped. Younger men saw her as from another era. Whispers changed. She was so lovely, such a shame she was so picky. Doubt crept in. Had she waited too long for a dream that didn't exist? The checklist that once empowered her now felt foolish. Ruth watched as the ships she'd refused sailed away, leaving her alone with the fading image of a perfect man who never came. The tide had turned, and Ruth was stranded with her dreams. Silence filled Ruth's home. Not just the absence of sound, but of companionship. The rooms echoed with the life she hadn't chosen, the laughter of children she never had. Social media became a window into the lives she'd turned away from. Friends celebrating anniversaries, children's milestones, imperfect husbands. The farmer, the teacher, men she'd once dismissed, were now living rich, shared lives. Regret took root, and fear of ending up alone grew. Birthdays became reminders of another year spent in solitude. The dream of perfection now haunted her, mocking her choices. She no longer cared for wealth or looks. She longed for simple warmth and connection. The patient wait for perfection was over, replaced by a desperate urgency to change her fate. Sometimes the echo of an empty room is louder than any words. As time ticked on, a quiet desperation began to creep in. Ruth's once unwavering standards, the principles she held so dear, began to waver and fade. She found herself wanting only someone, anyone, willing to commit, willing to stay by her side, a constant in an ever-changing world. In her search, she met a man who showed interest, a man who seemed eager to fill the void. He showered her with attention, something she hadn't experienced in a while, but beneath the surface they shared little in common. Their values, their dreams, their very essence seemed to clash. In her youth, when life stretched out before her like an endless canvas, she'd have dismissed him instantly, without a second thought. Now his mere presence was a comfort, a shield against the gnawing fear of being alone. It was a warmth, however faint, in the cold expanse of her solitude. And so she consciously, or perhaps unconsciously, ignored the red flags, the subtle warnings that screamed incompatibility. She convinced herself this was maturity, a pragmatic acceptance of reality, a shedding of youthful idealism. This was compromise, she reasoned, a necessary adjustment, not settling for less than she deserved. Friends, sensing her unease, voiced gentle concerns, offering words of caution and support. But Ruth, blinded by her own anxieties, saw only judgment, a lack of understanding for her situation. The fear of loneliness, a primal dread, ultimately outweighed her deep-seated desire for true happiness, for a love that resonated with her soul. And so, she rushed headlong into marriage, a whirlwind of hasty preparations and nervous anticipation. She clung to the hope that love, like a fragile seed, would somehow blossom and grow in the fertile ground of commitment. The wedding itself was subdued, a muted affair, conspicuously lacking the unbridled joy and radiant excitement she'd once so vividly imagined filling her special day. In her haste, Ruth had traded the perceived loneliness of waiting patiently for perfection for the far more profound and isolating loneliness of being intimately entangled with the wrong person. She realized far too late that desperately grasping for any available hand, any semblance of connection, is a world apart from patiently and discerningly finding the hand that truly fits, the one meant to intertwine with yours. Panic, fueled by the fear of being alone, had led her down a path into a different, more insidious kind of solitude. Sometimes the wrong partnership, the ill-fated union, is infinitely lonelier than facing the world entirely on your own. Ruth's story is a lesson in the dangers of extremes. Waiting for perfection leads to missed opportunities and fading hope. A checklist can become a cage, blinding us to real, loving people. Rushing into commitment out of fear is just as perilous. Marrying out of desperation builds a fragile foundation. The loneliness within a mismatched marriage can be deeper than solitude. The wise path lies in balance, knowing our core values, but letting go of superficial demands. True essentials are integrity, empathy, and a willingness to grow together. Love isn't about finding a flawless statue, but about carving a life together from imperfect stone. Seek someone whose strengths complement your weaknesses, whose flaws you can accept. Be open-hearted and discerning, hopeful but not naive. The imperfect path is where real love grows. It's not about settling, but about seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary. The quest for love isn't about finding a perfect being, but building a shared life. True partnership is found in ordinary moments made extraordinary together. Look past the facade of perfection. Lasting love is built in everyday acts. It's in respect during disagreements, support for dreams, and unwavering commitment. Ruth's story urges us to embrace imperfection in ourselves and others. Don't wait for a fantasy or rush out of fear. Seek a connection that feels like coming home. Value kindness, integrity, and shared laughter over superficial traits. The most extraordinary love is often found in the most ordinary people, those willing to walk life's imperfect path by our side. That is a love worth finding and a life worth living.